All right, good morning, everyone. This is Kenneth Price, and I'm here with Beloved on Sunday, January 14th for our Sunday morning Zoom call, psychiatricsobriety.com, 5-minute introduction. We record these to YouTube for 1 hour. I post them to our YouTube channel, Psychiatric Sobriety. And the reason we record these is because these are very powerful conversations, and we want archives for the courageous souls who have chosen to permeate the veils of mental illness. Did I get that right? I know the tagline for this ministry is something like that. I should remember it. It's the tagline that I wrote. So anyway, what we basically do here for an hour is we unwind ourselves from our mental illness stories. And whatever form that takes is guided for the next hour. We just say a prayer and we let Spirit take control of these meetings. I was once upon a time inside of the mental health system, everyone. I spent 25 years on countless medications, believing that if I tinkered with my brain chemistry, I could get better. In the very beginning, the medications probably saved my life, but the medications were not the answer. And about 7 years ago, more than 7 years ago, I don't have the timeline anymore. I realized that I was going to have to start surrendering all the medications and find a better way. So, 7 years later, as this better way begins to unfold, as the butterfly begins to emerge from the cocoon, I began a ministry called psychiatricsobriety.com, and others who were also in the same energetic trajectory, who were also feeling to emerge from their mental illness stories. We all began to find one another. And so we've got, I don't know how many of these Zoom calls we've got recorded, but they're just fantastic. I love going through the archives. And this is the ministry. It's very small and it's very intimate, and it's very dear to my heart. So mostly we're Course in Miracles students who come on here because the Course in Miracles is what my teacher, David Hoffmeister, has said, some of the deepest teachings on the planet at this time. And it takes a lot of deep diving if we're going to unwind ourselves from the spider webs of mental illness. I try and keep it focused on mental illness specifically. But basically what we're doing is we're unbelieving the dream characters who contain the mental illness. We're discovering who we truly are. And who we truly are is the light of Christ. How could the light of Christ possibly be mentally ill? So it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of faith, takes a lot of discipline. And that's what we do here on Sunday mornings: faith, work, and discipline. Okay. So since I'm touching a sacred cow, since I'm talking about psychiatry and I'm talking about medications, I also include a disclaimer every Sunday morning because we don't want to cause anyone any harm. Okay, medications may be in someone's script at this point in time. We're just simply offering our testimonies of how we were ready. When someone is ready, they will know when they're ready. And when we were ready, we found one another. So if you watch these Zoom archives and you believe the messages that you need to get out of psychiatry and get off your medications, then you're not listening to the message, because that's not what we're saying. As a matter of fact, if you come in here and you're still on medications, then you're supposed to be on medications. That's as simple as it gets. So I'm going to keep it real brief. I'm just here with Beloved on this Sunday morning, and we have to start this off with a prayer, because it's not about us. It's about what comes through us. And the healer's prayer goes like this: we are here only to be truly helpful, and we are here to represent him or her who sent us. We do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he or she who sent us will direct us. We are content to be wherever he or she wishes, knowing that he or she goes there with us. And we will be healed as we let him or her teach us how to heal. I've missed Beloved. It's been several weeks. How are you? Let's go for the next hour and see what we can come up with. See what comes out of us. How's that?
Good.
My story, it's a lot of humility. It's a good thing, though.
Humility?
Yeah, I'm coming out. of a experience where I lost myself, and I went into a fantasy of I got to keep it real anonymous here because anonymity is being required of me. But I'll just say that I went into a fantasy and I felt the old feelings come back. And this time, you took one of my crisis calls. This time, I practiced the Keith Kavanaugh technique. It's very simple. Allow the feelings and welcome the feelings. It's easier said than done. The resources came in this time. Okay. This time, there was a woman that I'd met years ago at Living Miracles, and I won't mention her name, but we're doing weekly sessions together. And if I had not fallen into this cocoon the last 2, maybe 3 months, then she would not have arrived in my new parable. Okay, so I'm not going to put pink paint over it and say it was a cakewalk the last 2 or 3 months. A relationship. Okay, I'll just keep it at that. I'm not going to say what kind of a relationship because it doesn't matter. What matters is what my thoughts and my beliefs began to the dance they began to perform. It was a very familiar dance. When you get close to someone, that brings up a very familiar dance. And I've seen this dance many times before. And this time it was on a higher level of spiral. So like I said, Keith Kavanaugh, allow it, welcome feelings. I mean, the stories were going, haywire. Let's just stick with the feelings themselves, okay? Trust these feelings that are coming up. They were very uncomfortable, to say the least, very uncomfortable feelings. Allow them to come up. And then this wonderful woman who I Zoom with once a week comes into, I called her and I said, I'm in the red zone. Are you available for counseling? She said, absolutely yes. And now her and I are going through it together. This is the whole point of this ministry is how I want to document how it works. Perfect. I got into another cocoon. All right. But this time Spirit said, we're going to look at it. See, when 2 or more are gathered, her and I look at it together. See, there's 3 of us in that Zoom call. There's her, I'll get corrected if I say her. She, I don't know if it's her or she. Both of us have a third wheel, Jay. Okay. Listen, what's going on up here? Fear of abandonment. Okay. What I'm able to do this time is to walk through it. It's not about the person that I'm projecting onto. Okay. Here's what I want to share with the world. The fears haven't come true. Okay. Primarily, the abandonment was just a core. Maybe it was a feeling. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a shadow. And it doesn't matter anymore. And it turns out, happily ever after, the other person and I are good friends. It's not real complicated. Okay. I was ready for it this time. And if you've watched the last couple of Zoom calls, you've known that I've come into the Zoom calls very compromised. Okay. But this time I'm coming into the Zoom call with more of a levity, I'm able to breathe now. So I just want documented what it's like to go through the darkness to get to the light. And the light is very simple, that beliefs weren't true. Practice. And this is why Keith Kavanaugh is, on my screen, for several hours a day. Because I have to be reminded Very simple. I'm going to say it for the third time. Allow it and invite it. Is invite the right word? Allow it and welcome it. Okay, this is first and foremost above everything else. This is opposite. And this was my mental illness, was fearing it and stuffing it. Okay. So we have two polar opposites taking place. Fear it, stuff it, old paradigm. Allow it, welcome it, new paradigm. Okay. This is where I am crossing the bridge. And this is where I want to invite others who have also been diagnosed with mental illness, if they, because the stuffing it and the fearing it, that's just where the mental illness was born. Allowing it and welcoming it is where the mental illness is dissolving. I gave myself that mental illness so that it could get to a critical mass, so that I would say that prayer, there's got to be a better way. This is full responsibility. I gave it to myself. There's got to be a better way. I get in the middle, and all of a sudden these resources start coming in. In addition, I've shared this many times before. In addition to this weekly call that I've got with this marvelous woman who I've now developed close, real intimacy with. Because when you're going through something together, it's called a mighty companion. That's intimacy. More hair bands. I got 4 on Friday night. Not Friday night, Friday during the day. On 4 of them. Okay, so we've got angelic intervention. And that's part of this ministry. That's part of the message. We've got to trust that there's help when we sincerely are asking, I don't know, please show me. It's ours to look for the signs and the symbols. This is what mine's looking like. I'm running out of talk. How are you doing, beloved?
I'm just so moved listening to you. And for those tuning in, if you're struggling, my story is about depression. And I understand that it's the worst thing to have to sit with, to be willing to sit with. And I understand why you would seek what the world offers to help. Drugs is just one of them, and that's what this meeting's about. So if you're sitting here and you're on medication for depression, welcome. And if you're being called to leave that medication or not make it an issue, or it's not working, and you're ready for another way, that's what we're talking about. And my drug wasn't psychiatric drugs. I used other things. I used fitness. How about that? Exercise as my drug. And I thought it fixed everything. And it didn't work for a while. Those endorphins get released when you're working out and moving and all that stuff. But there comes a time when it doesn't work and that depression comes back. Why? Because it hasn't been healed. It's just been medicated. It's been repressed, suppressed, you know, um, and the cause hasn't been dealt with. And why we're here is we're speaking to the one mind. We're all one. We all have the same problem. Kenneth doesn't have a separate problem from me. I don't have a separate problem from y'all. Anybody who's listening, we all have the same problem. We think we're something we're not. And with that identification comes all the suffering of the world, which is why I am a recommitted 2024 A Course in Miracles student. It's the only help I found that has helped me over a number of years consistently work with my depression. It's not my depression. It's the ego thought system that I slip into and start identifying with. That story of poor me and everything that comes with the package. So it's not our thoughts. And I love, Kenneth, your story, because every story of relationship is the same. We're looking outside of ourselves for you to complete me. That's a recipe for disaster.
And I wasn't looking for it. It was given to me as a gift. You got some refinement here, kiddo. Got some refinement. That's fine. This is important to document also. Is I wasn't looking for it. Okay. It was very important while going through it, and I'm still going through some of it. It's very important to be kind and gentle, just to then reframe it and say, it was handed to me as a gift. Okay. And this is what I want to touch on. That's something you said. My friend Dale Crow, I mentioned him many times. He's in prison for murder. He's going to get out July 2025, served a 20-year sentence. Him and I have had a relationship for 5 years, email, and now it's texting, and gone to see him 3 times. But I published on my website our correspondence. It's over 100-page book, single-space correspondence, our letters back and forth. And in one of the letters, he specifically refers to it as the burn. And this is what I want documented. He came into my life, and I couldn't forgive myself. Spirit said, fine, look at this man as a template. If he can forgive himself, you can too, kiddo. And he calls it the burn. I was frightened of it. This is my shadow coming up. Got to push it down. Exercise. Yeah, exercise in my story too. Fine. That's perfect, because exercise kept us in the holding pattern until the runway was clear. And now we're coming in for a landing. Exercise, even the psych meds keep us circling the runway until the tower gives us clearance to land. This is for people who are ready to land, beloved, and it's an honor and a privilege. But we're still holding on to the throttle. It's raining out. We're eyeing our altimeter and trying to level the wings, the rudder. Get it steady.
Well, I recently sat one morning and read a whole book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And maybe many of listeners know him as the author of The Untethered Soul. But The Surrender Experiment, hands down, wow. What a lesson for me that I needed to hear when I read that. I couldn't put it down, because the only sane thing to do in this life is to surrender. And to me, surrender is what Keith Kavanaugh is saying. Surrender means welcome it. It is. What's your choice? Be crazy and say, well, it is, but I don't like it, and blah, 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 and go on and on and on, resisting and suffering. But it still is. It hasn't changed. Or surrender. and be led because we are being led, because the script is written, because we don't have to figure it out, because we're not running and controlling the airplane anyways, even if we think we are. We become the witnesses. When you're surrendering, you get to watch that character in the movie called Beloved Raina, Kenneth, Reverend, whoever, whatever. We get to watch it. And if you're watching it, you can't be it. That's peeling that cellophane off of that product. You know how hard it is to peel it off. But that's a big separation. That is where the awareness, we're not what's happening. Enjoy the show because it's unfolding. If we knew what the future was, we would play lotto with confidence and with $1. We don't know. That is how you don't know anything. We don't know anything, and there is freedom, but trust has to come with that, and not trust in the ego, not trust in anything this world has to offer. And we will learn when we have misidentified. That's all. And you're right, Kenneth. There's no mistakes. There's no mistakes in the script. Everything is used for us. That exercising wasn't a mistake for me. That allowed me to see that how I can feel good. How I can feel good. And everything can be used, whatever we're going through, for our awakening out of suffering. That's what I'm here. I'm back here because I was suffering, so I didn't want to come. I didn't want to become attending with my suffering. However, that's not the way. You can't hide. You can't hide from others. Like Kenneth said, without help. And we can help each other. You know, Holy Spirit also always joins us. And sometimes I like my mighty companions in the flesh, my brothers and sisters.
You know, there's more to Keith Kavanaugh's giving some very simple pointers. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion today because I've been overwhelmed with the Course in Miracles, 365 daily lessons, Right, but Keith is bringing it home. He's perfect. He's bringing us back. So look, Course in Miracles is simply engineered so that we can be the witness of the one who's on the screen. And that's exactly what you said, because I'm feeling, mine's kind of like a sine wave. I was getting stretched with, Mooji, Keith Kavanaugh, David Hoffmeister. Let's go down the list of all the other.
Katie.
Eckhart Tolle. I was getting stretched. And then it's starting to come back. They're all saying the same thing in a different delivery format. The simplicity has got me on my knees saying, thank you. It's the same message. So simple. When they were telling me it was simple and I hadn't approached the stretch, it was not able to compute. The stretch was necessary for me to then come back to see how simple it is. You're right, it was written in my script. All those things had to go in all those different directions for all those contrast experiences for this one man to begin to get the clearance to now begin to descend and turn on his landing lights. Okay, I'm trying to put this in a metaphor, and I love the way that you picked up on the metaphor and we both massaged it together. Comes down to the maybe this is synchronistic, that the whole purpose of this ministry was one tagline that started, what was it, August of 2021, August 2021. You're not damaged because who you are can't be damaged. Poof, all of a sudden the ministry. So, I must have said the magic word, who we are. But you can't just tell, you can't just walk up to someone and say the light of Christ, because it won't register. You have to just slowly begin to unwind everything that's not the light of Christ, because the light of Christ just is. I can say that now. Comes back every day, of course. Now it's habit. These are developing new habits for us, new thinking habits. Oh, there's the ego. This is what Keith is so helpful. When he's actually got words for it. David's helpful, but Keith is also, picking up where David's, two of them side by side. He said, don't touch the ego. Don't try to fix the ego. He said, let it be. And this goes back to my friend Dale Blackford, who I've got on my YouTube channel too. Dale Blackford was saying years ago, he's making friends with his ego. And then I was still not into the expansion enough to where I was comparing. Well, Dale Blackford saying make friends with the ego, and David Hoffmeister saying the ego's not your friend. Who's right? And I just said, patiently wait, because there was still mist and fog, that hadn't cleared. When the fog began to clear, then because trying to put this into words can get very challenging. So what I see now is the message from Dale Blackford was not to make friends. Hi, ego, you're my friend. Well, maybe it was a little bit of that, but more it was the allow it. And this is where Keith is reaching me. He said, it's very simple, and I finally got it. I thought the Holy Spirit was anthropomorphized. No. I mean, if you need to anthropomorphize the Holy Spirit, go right ahead, but that wasn't where I was at. Allowance is awareness, is the Holy Spirit. How simple is that? Okay, and then this ties back to Dale Crow, who's been saying, see, Dale Crow was giving me all these pointers, and they were foggy too. Dale Crow was saying, awareness, Kenneth, you're the awareness. Now that wasn't sinking in, but I was listening and patiently waiting. The fog will clear on Dale Crow too. The Holy Spirit is simply awareness. Which goes back to what Agnes was telling me 30 years ago, keep it simple, stupid. And she said, oh, she was planting seeds. Johnny Appleseed. It's all we can do.
I love that. We're the awareness. The Course in Miracles isn't for the ego. It isn't for the whole bunch of stories that we've made up about who we fell in a dream and to think we are. We're the dreamer of the dream. We're the dreamer of the dream. The dreamer of the dream is awareness. I look at the sky, and when I hear Keith says your awareness, I look out at the sky and I see the sky is holding all the things, the shenanigans that happens in the sky, all the clouds and the thunders and the hail and but the sky is just right there, just the holder of it. It's just there. It's not involved in it. It's just there to play out. And this is done. I get such comfort in knowing not only is the script, it doesn't say the script is writing, the script is being written. It says the script is written. It's over. We're but watching what has already happened. I know this is mind-boggling. I know if you're not a course student, this stuff sounds crazy. However, I was crazy before. And now this is the only sanity I know, is what the Course says. And the only way I can be love. Because if I'm an ego, it's a terrible song of suffering and death. There's no
I,
way around it.
can I share something with you I've got to inject this, beloved, inside of our relationship and our friendship, there's a level of intimacy and humility, comradeship. I'm not good with words because of this script that you chose for this lifetime that was so extraordinarily difficult, and to surmount it took so much courage, and now you are truly worthy of your name, beloved. Thank you. I'm not complimenting you. I don't compliment people. I'm just calling it out like it is. You are my
No,
beloved. I
you
love
made
you.
me realize as I'm saying this that I always tried to figure out why I am so obsessed and have such a love for you. Where did it come? But I'm not doing that because it was in the script. I
You're a
just
black
said it. It was in the script. We were meant.
you're a black lesbian woman, and I'm a burned out gay party boy. What have we got in
Oh my God, the script is written.
common?
I remember looking at you in the village, and I just like, come on, come here. You're like, me, and I'm like, and I just
Oh,
had such overwhelming. I just was so excited. I'm like, how can you not know me? I just want to hug you. And it has just been. This is my life. The script is written. Thank you. I'm really coming to that realization because you don't know how much I beat myself up. I beat myself up. I said, "Oh my God, why did I do that? I got so emotional. I raged and I just took action and I wrecked my whole life w- and opposite, I'm just so in love and I just jump off the cliff into but that is the script. That is my script that's written.
I
Wow.
I got to share with you. I mean, I take notes when I and the Zoom call, the title of the Zoom call came in. The script is written, but I'm going to put a little bar between the and script and say mental illness. The mental illness script is written, folks, and that's going to take the weight off our shoulders. It was written into the script. So now we can allow it and we don't have to fight it anymore. And in that allowance is going to germinate something that the world needs more than anything else, which is love. Let's love our mental illness to death. What are you, crazy, Kenneth? Crazy is, crazy does.
Yeah.
I mean, this,
Surrender.
yeah.
It's beautiful because it is. And that's sanity. That's when I have to make a choice every day. Am I going to be mentally ill? This whole world supports that. Yeah, you can get on this and you can get on medication and you can use this and this and this. The whole world will, but do I want that story? Now that I have a mind to know I can choose. See, that was the whole point. We
Okay.
were mindless.
Yeah. And let's go in this direction now because this is important to document. We because of this, we now know we have a choice. Now,
Yes.
okay, we know
Yes.
a choice. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This as the
Yes.
fog cleared in my story, I I'm beginning to see that too. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes the best, and I want to document this too. Sometimes the highest possible choice I can do is restraint of tongue and pen. All right. But good. That's a choice too. Okay. Restraint of tongue and pen. Kenneth, go take a walk. Sometimes the highest possible choice is just call a mighty companion. Have you got the space to let me vomit it out? Hold the phone out here and just ah, ah if that's okay. And then as the dust settles, okay, One of the things David Hoffmeister gave me in his community was a template. Called it expression. It's going to look different for everyone else, but he said the feelings bottled up, are like a pressure cooker. So if we can find healthy ways to express the feelings that might frighten people, for example, at his monastery in the high desert of Duchesne, Utah, I was given a permission slip to go out into the desert and beat on the trees. He said the trees can handle it, kiddo. And a very strong, mighty companion held the space while I just beat the trees. And then got to what was under the anger, which was the sadness. Cry it all out, kiddo. It's all right. They're just feelings. Let the feelings out, cry. Because in the movie The Shack, the Holy Spirit, there was an Asian woman played the Holy Spirit. When I think it was Mac, when he began to cry, she began to collect those tears. She said, where I come from, these are valuable, more valuable than gold. Sign the story's coming to an end, kiddo. You did a great job. You played a great dream character. You didn't want to read those lines. You read them anyway. You read the lines of mental illness. You read the lines of gay party boy. You read the lines of alcoholic. You read the line on and on and on. You had to read the line. You can get off stage now and watch the dream character Kenneth Price perform the final act. He's gotta perform the final act. He's got about another 30 years left. But you can get off stage and watch him now. It's okay if you shed some tears, because then you never know. You might start laughing. All a great stage. All the world is a stage. We're just merely actors, Shakespeare. We don't need Keith Cavanaugh. We don't need David Hoffmeister. We don't need Byron Katie. We don't need Eckhart Tolle. We could have used Shakespeare the whole time, because he was telling us much ado about nothing.
That is so comforting to me when I get overwhelmed with daily life. And I'm talking about daily life. What else could depress you, me, except that I got sucked into the character on the screen, and I'm making all these things real, and fear comes in, and now I am a robot for the ego. I'm mindless again without a choice. And until I can watch what's going on and catch myself, I'm depressed, and then there is the witness of depression. What is it? What does that mean? That means you're not depressed if you can look at it. So we have to give ourselves credit, whether you're a course student or not. If you can separate, if you can just find that you are not the thing, you're not the depression, you're not the schizophrenic, you're not the anxiety, you're the one that witnesses it. That really brings me back to, I have a choice now. I have a choice. I can watch it, welcome it, like Kenneth was saying. No, it's not easy. And what did you call it? I was just listening to, I don't know if you know, Stephanie Finn, and I can't remember her partner's name, Roy, I think. Anyways, they have a great show, Miracle Mondays it's called. And they talk about the eye of the needle and the dark night of the soul. And you had called it something else. What did you just referred to it as something else.
I have needle, dark night of soul, cocoon.
No. Earlier in this talk, you called it something else.
I called
And
it sine wave.
what when I watch it again, I'll put it in the comments what you called it. And I liked how you said it because it didn't sound like the dark night of the soul, but I believe you were talking about the same thing.
They're all, this is the marvelous part about as it begins to come together. You know, this the separation. It's expand. It's like I was in my 20s. I was a bodybuilder, and my coach explained to me, my trainer, he said, "You've got to tear the muscle down, and then the next 2 days, I want you to eat lots of protein, and it'll build up stronger." Why spirit used that to prepare me for this psychological and spiritual bodybuilding to and so perhaps that the tearing is the dark night of the soul, and then the love is the protein infusion and the expansion. Because what you just said, mine's all coming into clear focus now. Choose Again is simply the name of the ministry that Diedrich Wolsack has. I think it's in Costa Rica. Choose Again. And he's just like me. He was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Perfect. I can hear him. What I hear you saying is that all these teachers, what I'm seeing is they're all pointing to the moon. What I want and what we all want from this ministry are testimonies. Psychiatric sobriety, what it was like, what happened, and what it is like now. Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle, because when we have, it takes courage and it takes faith. Everyone has courage. Everyone has faith. Bilbo Baggins didn't know he had courage and he had faith until Gandalf walked into the Hobbit hole and said, "You're coming with me." Bilbo Baggins said, "I'm not leaving my Hobbit hole." And Gandalf said, "Yes, you are. Pack your bags, or satchel." That's when Bilbo went on the journey, fought the Eye of Mordor. Never underestimate a hobbit. We have it in us. It's all inside of us.
And it can be a great adventure if, even if you can't imagine it. I love the surrender experiment because that is Bilbo Baggins. If you read it, this dude was a hermit. He had cut out his little slice of woods and he wasn't going nowhere and he wasn't talking to nobody. All he wanted to do was meditate all damn day. And look at him. Look what life had for him when he said, "I will surrender to what comes my way. I will surrender and say yes." And, I didn't see myself as a surrenderer. I just envisioned, oh, she got swept up in that again. But perhaps that is my surrender. I say, yes. Yeah, let's do this thing. Ho ho. Surrender could look like that, or it could look like, okay, God, or like Katie says, I'm a walking yes. You don't, life will be lived through you. Don't doubt it. I'm in the doldrums because I'm like, what's happening? Nothing's happening. Oh my God. I'm just going to withdraw away from everybody and fuck everybody and just nurse my own little. No, life's going to find you anyways. It will find you it'll, it, you're here, you are life. We are life being lived. And I think that's beautiful. That whole thing. Bilbo Baggins, you think your life is over, you done lived your this, that, the other. No, we are eternal. I'm saying this as much to remind me when I look back at this. We're eternal. The story's written, but who we are is not a story.
You know, I never could understand why The Wizard of Oz was always such a popular movie. Yeah, it was one of the first Technicolors, and yeah, Judy Garland had a good voice, and yeah, it was a popular children's book. But for the amount of popularity, it never made sense. I said it's Flying Monkeys, Wicked Witches, big deal. You know why it was so popular? because it was, yeah, you could enjoy the I'm sure in the late 1939 it was great to see all that Technicolor, all the big screen, but it had a deeper message. It went deep into each person's soul, and most people probably didn't even know why, because it basically comes down to what we've been saying the last 45 minutes. Had it in us the whole time, and pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. But for some reason, Dorothy didn't know that when her house landed on the Wicked Witch. So she had to, meet Munchkins. She had to face flying monkeys. She had to, fall asleep with poppies.
All the adventures,
All
all
the
the serial
adventures
adventures.
we're dreaming.
And the script was already written in those shoes, clicking those heels. It was,
we've been dreaming.
and we can enjoy the show, can't we? I mean, this whole thing happened because we forgot to laugh and we taken it too seriously. I just got way too serious. I done got way too serious about this stuff. So I'm identifying my frequency is low, and so I'm on a practical level. I just want to be real with people that's watching this. You start taking life serious, it beats you up. It finds some kind of way to detach enough to know life is being lived through you. Hold on, trust, enjoy it. Hug somebody, hug a dog, find some way to feel emotion of kindness, kindness for yourself. It's all about forgiveness is surrender. Forgiveness is welcoming. Forgiveness is forgetting. Don't recall any stories that don't make you feel good.
Keith Kavanaugh helped me clear this up even a little bit further. Each one of these teachers has given me a little piece of the puzzle. I've said it before, mine's like a scavenger hunt. He said, the script is written, kids. I didn't say kids, I say kids. And he said, the Holy Spirit is simply standing at the end of the story. It's if you want a metaphor, he's at the end of the story watching. Because the Holy Spirit knows the story has an ending, beginning, middle, and end. And we're just inside the story still.
Unless we want it out and we can be with the Holy Spirit watching it.
Watching
which is what we're asked to do. Which is what we're asked to practice. That is the practice. That is the practice. I'm gonna post in our group Kate Greaves. She has a wonderful meditation. Wonderful. I've been doing it for 4 days, and it's just so wonderful. And this is mind training. Practice feeling your freedom. Practice. What we're saying isn't a metaphor. What we're saying is the truth.
And what I got this intuitive hit years ago. See, now that everything's it's beginning to clear up. I understand why I was so. For years, I kept saying, why am I stuck on the miracle worker, the story of Helen Keller? I don't remember Helen Keller, what the woman's name was who brought her out of the darkness.
Anne Sullivan.
Anne Sullivan, that's it. Why is this in my awareness? Because the one scene, which I don't remember anything of the movie, except for the one scene where Anne Sullivan is holding Helen Keller's hands under the water. She's taking her hands and moving her lips. And Helen says, water. Helen's coming out of the darkness and into the light with the one word that says water. Now, this is the whole purpose of this ministry, because we are all in the darkness in our mental illness. We are all on the screen in our mental illness. If just for one moment we can get off the screen and watch it from the audience, if just for one moment Anne Sullivan can get Helen to mouth the word water, the forces of evolution are unstoppable. That is the first sign of life. That is the first crack in the dam. The water is going to start coming through the dam. Water will find, I'm an engineer, water will find a way. The dam is already over. The story's already over. That's the first sign of spring, where the little, you start to see the first bud through the snow. Spring's on its way. We're coming home, folks. That's the message I want. And I know you feel the same way, beloved. That's the message we've come to deliver. The dark night of the soul, the yellow brick road, the eye of the needle. It's just that the bulb has got to be planted underground, and the winter has to come to freeze the bulb so that it can flower this beautiful. I don't know what it's going to be. Is it going to be a tulip? Is it going to be a crocus? Is it going to be a daffodil? Is it going to be an amaryllis? I don't know, but I know it's going to be one of those. Have patience and faith. Spirit knows what Spirit is doing. Hands off the wheel. Surrender, allow, and trust. It's okay, folks. We're all going to flower in the spring.
Life will not be denied. Life will live through you. And watch it. Let's watch this movie. Let's give ourselves, let's detach and enjoy it. It's not happening. It's a dream. We're the dreamer of the dream. We're the dreamer of the dream. Sit with that. Even your most vivid dream, you can't make it real. It's gonna dissipate. The most vivid dream you have, and I have been having vivid dreams, and it just dissipates. Let it go.
I posted the song, and I know you remember it too, because we're about the same age. I think maybe a little bit older, but the song by Maureen McGovern, 1971, the theme song from Poseidon Adventure. There's got to be a morning after.
Oh, of course.
We can make it through the storm. And I asked myself, why is the song the second one? This is 1971. I didn't even, Poseidon Adventure, I was too young to even see it. My parents wouldn't have let me in. It was probably rated R. And then the other song, which got stuck in my head, Barbara Streisand. I think it came from West Side Story originally, but I somewhere there's a place for us, a time and a place for us, peace and quiet and open air. Wait for us somewhere.
And it's not in this 3D world, folks. That's the beauty of it. That's where you get lost. That's where you get mad at God, because you're not gonna find it. And it's good that you're not gonna find it, because we all know, if we believe we're a body, how it ends. If you believe you're a body, that script is written. So why not become a witness to something greater? Why not witness to life?
The line that caught me the most is when Barbara Streisand went into the high note. We'll find a way of forgiving. We'll find there's a new way of living. Somewhere, somehow. It's how we forgive.
Yeah, and live in this world lightly and lovingly. I mean, I don't go around, I have to live in this world. I try to hide from it, but that's not the way. That's not the way. So, like you said, Kenneth, I can look with loving eyes on my world, on my surroundings, on however I find myself, with whatever I find myself, whoever I find myself with, whether it's just me I find myself with. but be kind to yourself. Be loving to ask to see yourself as a loving creator sees his son. Because that's who we really are. A loving, love created us like itself. We are love. We are love. We are created by and for love. And that's why the story continues. That is somewhere. That's our home. That's the place for us, is in love, here, in the dream.
I don't think there's any way I could possibly top the last 55 minutes. What came out of us? And what I want documented is it came from two people who have parables that most people would say, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. This is what comes out of it, folks. If you're going through what the world is defining as this is horrible, this is awful, I wouldn't be so convinced that the world is looking at it from the true perception. Because if you want to shift to the egos, from the egos to the spirits, perhaps this is written in your script too. And as my friend Dale Blackford, Reverend Dale Blackford would say, perhaps this is not the worst thing that's happening to you, but perhaps this is the best thing that's happening to you. Jesus liked to hang out with the tax collectors and the prostitutes. It puts a smile on my face. I'm glowing. It was so good to spend this hour with you, beloved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for still being here, Kenneth.
I
hanging
can't
in there and continuing to offer this space for whatever soul happens to trip over a YouTube video.
I've spoken too much. For the YouTube archive, this is Kenneth Price with Beloved. On Sunday, January 14th, for, I don't know, maybe 150 Zoom calls, but this was truly guided, this conversation, that smile on my face was authentic. The laughter that we shared was true and honest, and I couldn't be more grateful. So if you're watching this on YouTube, down below in the description line, I've got all the contacts for the Facebook page, for the group chat, for the Zoom link on Sundays. And you know what? I'm just going to keep going, keep doing this, because Spirit was supposed to connect us together. I've said too much. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, beloved. This is the end of the recording. God bless, and may the force be with you. Bye.